I'm John,
I'm Becky.
and we're an Air Force family, so we're sort of from all over. So we were stationed here in New Jersey years ago, before we had kids, and it was just a wonderful chance to be a part of Hope. We moved on. We were moved by the military a couple times, and we were down at the Gulf Coast of Mississippi.
And this was 1 year ago that we lived there. We had been living there for a few months, and I started noticing, we have two children. We have a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old. And our 2-year-old Sam, I noticed a glow in his eye under certain light. Nobody else really noticed it, but I did. So at his next well-check doctor appointment, I mentioned it. He seemed really concerned, but after looking at Sam several times, he said he was fine.
So something, and Becky knew this wasn't right. She had sort of an instinct, and she made an effort to get a photo with the exact, she sort of set up all these lights in a room and got Sam to look at this exact way and got a photo of it, and you could see that something in one eye was not right. The coloring was different.
And whenever the doctor saw that photo, it put everything in motion, and we got a referral immediately.
Yeah, we were immediately in a specialist's office, and we had one of these moments that feels almost like an out-of-body experience, where you're sort of hearing and seeing what you know to be real, but it's just unbelievable to you at the time. And that was the doctor looking in Sam's eye, and he told us, "I want you to sit down. This is going to be a big day of change for you. Your baby boy has cancer." And at that point, we were sort of there in shock, and all we could ask is, well, what's the next step? And he said, there's only 2 places in America really that I'd recommend you going to if you can manage to, if you can afford it, if you can get access to it. There's 2 places, and there's really only one that I'd really recommend. He said one was by far the best, and it was this doctor who's in Philadelphia. And Becky and I looked at each other.
We looked at each other, and all of a sudden, like, God's plan just like flashed before us, because we had been here before, and we knew where we were going.
And we learned that the military health insurance would cover us coming here. I reached out to the military to begin asking about the potential for a move, just because of the financial issues of we'd have to be coming every few weeks or every month. And really we saw God's hand at work. It was really just incredible, where every barrier that was thrown up was just swept aside. When the general in charge of my functional chain found out what was going on, he said, just bring me in the paper right now. I'm going to sign it, no questions asked.
So instead of 3 months, we could move immediately. He said, start packing your bags today, basically. One of the first few phone calls we made that day, the first day we found out, was to the Kaisers. We had been in a grow group with them back in 2013, and we gave them a call and told them we were flying to Philadelphia for Sam's first chemo, and they said, you're staying with us. We have the space. Stay as long as you want. And it was like right around Christmas time, so things were crazy. But
yeah, there was a really difficult 2 weeks there before the first treatment due to the Christmas holiday. Typically they like to begin the treatment within a week, but we were 2 weeks out simply due to all the holiday days. So it was a very difficult 2 weeks where the doctor, essentially how this cancer works is if it's contained to the eye, it won't threaten the child's life because it's self-contained there. And if worse comes to worse, they can simply remove the eye. If the cancer touches the nerve in the back of the eye, it then escapes the eye and is fatal, typically all the time. And what the doctor in Mississippi said to us is, I don't know. I can't see. It's grown in front of the nerve, so I can't see whether it's touched the nerve or not. So there was a 2-week period of time there where, every time we looked at Sam, the question just popped into your head of where is the cancer. The verse that kept coming to mind for me that was sort of being repeated again and again was from Jeremiah, and that is the Lord saying, I know that the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. And we spent a lot of time in really deep prayer, praying that that future God was giving us, that plan that we saw unfolding included Sam remaining with us.
We moved to New Jersey quite quickly, and we spent about 7 months going through chemotherapy. There was a lot of ups and downs. It started out only being 3 months of chemo, then they needed a 4th month, and then the cancer would grow more aggressively again, and then we had to switch to a different type of chemo. So there was a lot of ups and downs. We had to go through an emergency radiation because the cancer again started growing aggressively. So there were a lot of ups and downs for a good 7 months.
But I mean, the big thing was the cancer had not reached the nerve. They were able to find out when we got to Philadelphia. And we did end up having access to, through all these doors being opened, through God's work, really, just through the health insurance, through the military, through the local family here. Just all the doors were open, and we were able to get him in to see this person who's really like the best worldwide.
She invented the type of chemo that he went through.
Yeah. And this doctor could look us in the eyes and tell us, I've never lost a patient who's at the point your child is at. So we really just felt overwhelmed with that blessing and the doors that God had opened.
I think for me, I just felt hope the entire time. We saw God's work in every single step of this process. We saw things that were impossible become possible. There was no doubt that God was with us every step of the way. We saw our lives become simple. It was about God, family, and relationships. And learning that like pain and suffering is such a normal part of this world, and that we can find hope looking beyond this world. One thing that's so beautiful to me is beginning to see this full circle, knowing that God was already planning this well before Sam was ever born. And Morristown is such a beautiful small town that we don't really tell many people about Sam's diagnosis, but people at the library or Gabe's preschool will come up to me and say, your family is an inspiration. And I won't even know that they knew about Sam, but it gives me an opportunity for the first time in my life to share where my hope and my faith and my foundation comes from in God. It's been an amazing opportunity to witness to them and see that come for full circle.
Yeah.